Hey guys, quick disclaimer before we get into the actual video. I had actually recorded the following hour of footage and lost all of it. Yay! So after I had a good cry about it, yeah, time to re-record. So I apologize. I'll try to remember things I had said and reactions I had had. Some of it will be pretty easy to recreate because I lost my mind about an hour, the end of the hour of that recording. So you'll get to see that again for the most part. But yeah, so I'm sorry that my reactions are not going to be as exciting as they would be fresh, but what you gonna do when your recordings don't end up working? Hopefully this time I don't lose it. But anyway, just a quick disclaimer, so you guys know. And now we'll get back into the very exciting battle that's happening. Also, because I've restarted, the encyclopedia entries that had shown up won't show up again, and I honestly don't remember what it was. I mean, maybe if there's a certain word, and I might be like, maybe that was it, I'll try to find it, but otherwise, I haven't a clue, so I apologize, and you'll see what choices I made before I make them. So yeah, okay. Enough babbling, let's get back into the actual story. Following soon after Harada's departure, the Aizu organized a series of calculated attacks against Shirokawa Castle to overwhelm Imperial forces. The Imperials, however, absorbed the Aizu's intense pressure with well-positioned guard towers, situating their men with a steady supply of munitions. Newly developed Imperial rifles ripped through waves of advancing Aizu soldiers from range with unbelievable precision. The Aizu struggled to cope with this vicious onslaught, clutching their outdated rifles like cursed totems while being blasted by cannon fire. Naga Cora was among them. A thick, filthy layer of blood and sweat coated his skin as he cried out to his nearby comrades. With his arm raised to beckon his men back, he charged surprisingly into the hopeless fray. He covered his men from the rear as they flailed recklessly away from danger.
It's over! We're done for! I'll distract those riflemen up there. You guys just get the hell out of here and fall back!
A stray bullet pierced through Naga Cora's arm just after he had spoken, producing a thick gush of blood.
It'll take more than a bullet to stop me! Give me all you've got, you bastards!
His courageousness could be explained by that promise he had made to Harada. It astounded me to watch him weave through lines of allies and enemies alike to defend the rear guard, thrusting himself into the veritable belly of the beast. The barrel of every Imperial rifle was pointed directly at Naga Cora, thanks to his bravery. To the untrained eye, Naga Cora was a fool, making himself vulnerable to hundreds of riflemen. However, he was a fury, and in the back of my mind, I knew that he was safer than he appeared. However, it was still no excuse to put himself at risk so needlessly. Nonetheless, Naga Cora inspired me, and his sword was stained with scarlet as he struck every Imperial soldier who happened across his path.
Naga Cora sure precedes his Shinsengumi reputation. Man, I'm tired just looking at him. I could fight 1,000 times and never be half as good. As long as we've got Naga Cora, we'll pull through.
As concerned as I was, watching Naga Cora lead by example, the reinvigorated cries of his allies were heard from all around us. Naga Cora, is this what you truly wanted? And I think it was at this point I commented that, man, he's very much like Toshi in that he inspired his men and protected them and everything. We entered a hushed room in the battle's aftermath. It was then that I had decided to speak with Naga Cora about his cavalier behavior. I'm thinking of Cavalier from Cinderella Phenomenon. I took a deep breath and marched up to him. Naga Cora, I've got something to tell you. Or actually, it's more like something to ask of you. Please don't fight so recklessly out on the battlefield. You're always the first one in, and then you're the last one to leave. Watching you fight stresses me out. It's almost like you've got a death wish. Naga Cora flexed his hand into a fist, answering me in a reserved tone.
But it was the only way I could keep all of my men alive out there. Besides, I'm a fury. It'll take a hell of a lot more to kill me.
I knew it. Naga Cora was beginning to embrace his condition as a fury. It was a slippery slope that needed to be avoided. Just because you're a fury doesn't give you the right to go in with the intention of getting hurt. That's no way to do things. My response struck a nerve with Naga Cora, who began raising his voice in return.
What the hell do you expect me to do, then? If I use my body as a shield, then maybe I can keep the lives of my men safe. I don't need their blood on my hands.
In a way, I admired his selfless desire to preserve the lives of those serving under him. It reminded me of Kondou, whose legacy, at the end of his life, was becoming enshrined in the myth of his own sacrifice. Just as Harada had previously told me. Naga Cora and Kondou weren't too different, hence their past tendency of butting heads time and again. It all became clear to me. At times, both Naga Cora and Kondou were both inept at articulating the reasons behind their actions. I wondered to myself if Naga Cora idolized the way in which Kondou gave his life. Perhaps I may have been overthinking it, but I had decided to tell him that the main reason I'm having this discussion with you is because I'm worried about you. I had decided it was best to voice my concerns, consequences be damned. It's because I'm worried about you, Naga Cora. All of this is an act because I know you're grieving over Kondou and that you miss Harada. But is this any way to honor them? By acting like a complete imbecile out on the battlefield? Oof. That line still hurts.
Damn. Well, sorry. Didn't think it'd bother you that much.
You just don't get it! It doesn't just bother me. I'm worried sick about you. So would you mind taking better care of yourself? Please. Naga Cora stared at the floor, forming his lips into a wry smile.
Hijikata said the same thing.
I only remembered after Naga Cora pointed it out. That's right, because I'm the Toshi to your Kondou. He was referring to an incident that had occurred shortly after we had arrived in Edo. Naga Cora was embroiled in a dispute with a group of samurai at a bar, prompting Hijikata to lecture him scathingly about how he needed to be more careful.
I have a tendency not to think before I act, which is what gets me into trouble more often than not.
Then, Naga Cora finally lifted himself out of his slump, turning to bow deeply at me.
I think I owe you a huge apology. But first, thank you. Thanks for always having my back.
No, there's no need to apologize. Seriously, I just appreciate you listening to me. Aw, there's that blush.
Makes sense. I still feel like a jerk about it. I'll do my best not to make you worry. So, relax a little bit.
He smiled at me shyly, which was enough to make my heart flutter just a tad. It felt good knowing my feelings were acknowledged, which was a welcome bit of solace in this trying time. Naga Cora put his fingers to his chin, stroking it absent-mindedly as he pursed his lips.
Well, with how things are going, I think the war is gonna get a lot tougher against the Imperial Army. If our backs are against the wall, is it okay to use my powers? I promise not to go insane. It's only for dire situations, like if I need to protect my men, or if there's an emergency.
What he said was sensible, and I suppose there was no stopping him if such a situation arose. Can I trust you to keep your promise?
Yeah, I promise.
Then, fine. Only then can you use them. His reaction was not what I was expecting. Timing.
Ugh!
Suddenly, his shoulders froze, his face curling into a pained grimace.
Sorry. You mind if I step outside alone for a minute or two?
Without waiting for me to answer, Naga Cora bolted out of the room. Oh yeah, I forgot at this point. I was like, what is it? Was it the beans I cooked? What is it, Shin? Talk to me. As he jogged outside, I rushed quickly after him. His eyes were tightly shut, beads of sweat pooling on top of his forehead, when he suddenly stopped. Naga Cora, are you okay? All of a sudden, his breathing became shallow, and soon his eyes and hair began changing color. It was bloodlust. I shuddered as Naga Cora furiously clawed at his own chest, barely able to breathe in by this point.
I'm totally fine. So you Go!
The timing couldn't have been worse. What was I to do? Obvious answer is obvious. There was no time to hesitate. Naga Cora needed me, especially with how much he strained his body protecting the Sekio core. Naga Cora, please drink my blood. I hastily exposed my collar from under my kimono, then unsheathed my kodachi and slid it along my neck. Without another word, I turned my back to Naga Cora. Keeping ourselves face to face surely would have been too much for him to handle in this delicate time. Very considerate. He didn't miss a beat, his nose perking upwards as the scent of my blood tickled his nostrils, and he proceeded to wrap his mouth around my fresh cut. Before sipping, however, he gulped a mouthful of saliva.
I can't do it. If I drink this, then I'll... Go!
Now's no time to worry about that. Just drink me, please. As if beckoned by my request, Naga Cora darted his tongue, tracing little circles around my sore wound. His moist lips made my neck shiver, along with a thin pinch of pressure as he sucked in deep gulps.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It is quite all right. Just keep drinking. With each fervent drink of blood came a profuse string of apologies, but I enjoyed it all the same. Oh yeah, and then at that point I'm like, I'm wondering if Chizuru's kink is actually having blood taken from her. Because she really gets into it on most of these routes. Like, they're always apologizing and stuff, but I kind of enjoyed it. After his bout of bloodlust seemed to subside, the recklessness that had been becoming emblematic of Naga Cora's leadership in battle was dissipating. All of the tensions built from his urge to fling himself into the throes of death and gunfire simply disappeared, replaced by an apathetic malaise. Not all of it could be blamed on the toll his condition had been taking on his body, however. Although he was fulfilling an ambition to serve the shogunate under the Sekio Corps' banner, losing one battle after another was devastating. Not even the Aizu could withhold imperial advances. Neither geographical location nor number of soldiers were an obstacle to the Imperials, and Naga Cora had just about seen enough. On this particular day, I watched him seethe with contempt as another defeat came to fruition.
Bonari Pass was taken too, huh? I don't know how much more bad news I can stomach.
Commander Naga Cora, sir. The Sekio Corps has been given the order to retreat. We are to leave Bonari Pass and head for the Yonezawa domain.
Okay, I do remember Yonezawa was a thing. I can read you that at least. That should be number 10? Yeah. A domain ruled by the Uesugi clan in the northeastern region of Japan. Despite not being affiliated with the Tokugawa, they joined the Northern Alliance to oppose the Imperial Army.
Come again. You're asking me to abandon the Aizu in order of retreat?
Sir, direct orders from the shogunate.
The soldier's insistence was met with a sigh from Naga Cora, who was working to hide his depression.
Fine. Orders are orders. Let's go.
Naga Cora. If Bonari Pass had indeed fallen prey to Imperial occupation, then a siege attack on Aizu Castle in the near future was merely a formality. Sekio Corps forwent becoming shogunate collateral, and instead fled to the Yonezawa domain. Naga Cora sulked wordlessly during our lonesome departure from the charred battlegrounds. His eyes were vacant, affected more by his deflated ego than serious contemplation. Any of his remaining goodwill was left behind in Aizu. I tried numerous times to initiate conversation with him to bolster his spirits, but every response was muttered, his words floating away from me like he was entranced. On the main trail towards Yonezawa, we've witnessed troops similarly nursing their sore wounds inflicted by defeat at the hands of the Imperial Army. We camped in a nearby forest, tending to our ailing allies in the refuge of darkness. From a little distance away from me, I overheard two soldiers speaking in a hushed tone.
Did you hear? Rumor is there's ghosts haunting the battlefields. Yep, heard all about it. There's no way to stop 'em either. Bullets and swords pass right through 'em. Yeah, and any poor soul unlucky enough to meet one gets murdered right then and there.
Ghosts? In the battlefield? I bit my lip in disbelief. Do you think there's any truth in their stories?
Meh. Sounds like an excuse a coward who fled the battlefield would use. They resort to these strange supernatural tales to save face. That way they don't get called out for it. It's a tactic for losers.
His response was half-hearted, but something in the nature of their conversation still bothered me. Their description of ghosts was conspicuously alike another creature, one that I had witnessed surviving gunfire and sword wounds with my own eyes. But Naga Cora, doesn't it sound a little familiar to you? Maybe like the Fury Corps?
Now that you mention it, yes, there are similarities. The fact that they'd be attacking us makes me think they're not Shinsengumi furies either. Which means the Imperial Army has started making their own batch of furies.
The emptiness in Naga Cora's earlier expression was now filled with a panicked urgency. If the rumors of furies running amok and murdering our men were true, then we had no room for complacency. Any strategic misstep on our side could result in the costly loss of every soldier at our disposal. Only one man was capable of wreaking havoc with nefarious creatures like furies. It must be the man responsible for this batch of furies. Must be my father. Father, who had been experimenting on furies with the Shinsengumi, was now collaborating with the Imperial Army. What tricks was he hiding up his sleeve? Many, many scalpels. The very thought of Father being associated with such a horrendous act was nauseating, and I nearly fainted as my vision began to swirl. Naga Cora picked up on my discomfort intuitively, resting his hand gently upon my left shoulder. He gazed at me intently with a twinkle in his eye.
If they're actually using furies, then we need to deal with them immediately. Do you want to try investigating?
Yes. Let's do it. The forest was dense and silent, save for the chirp of insects fluttering through the rustling branches. Beneath our feet were the fresh remnants of bullet casings and torn uniforms, giving us some indication of how the Aizu's retreat must have gone. The dazzling moonlight was contrasted by the sight of dismembered corpses, filling the air with a distinct stench that made me sick to my stomach. This is horrible.
Don't look, Chizuru. Doesn't seem like they stopped at killing them. Looks like these bodies were ravaged after they were killed. No doubt about it. Only furies are capable of a mess like this.
Must be. My skin crawled. If Father was responsible for this depravity, I wasn't sure how I'd be able to live with myself. Just as the thought of him crossed my mind, he was summoned from the shadows. A shadow snuck into the corner of my eye, and I flung my head to the side to search for it. A ray of moonlight shone through the tree, revealing. Father? Indeed, it was him, his bald head glimmering underneath the moon's ominous glow.
Oh ho! Fancy seeing the two of you here.
Word reached me that my dear child had left Edo, no longer under the custody of the Shinsengumi. Although I wondered what had happened to you, I hadn't anticipated Naga Cora to have snatched you up.
Father began to snarl menacingly, prompting Naga Cora to stand between us in a protective manner.
Well, well. It really was you. You brought the Furies into this. You're committing a crime against humanity. What the hell gives you the right, old man? From time to time, I let them roam to satisfy their cravings. It cultivates obedience on the battlefield. My children need to grow accustomed to the taste. Let us call it a disciplinary measure.
Naga Cora's eyebrows slanted upwards incredulously.
Did you just say discipline? Just as you would a mutt or a horse. Breaking them in takes time. Patience is a virtue, and by letting them indulge in their thirst, they heed my every word.
Yeah, about that. The thick, impenetrable darkness was suddenly dotted with pairs of crimson eyes. Father's words were enough to summon what revealed to be an army of furies hidden behind rows of trees.
They were innocent men, you senile fuck! What the hell did you do to them?
And I was like, whoa, language, Shin. Dang, you really went for him.
The same sin that you committed yourself, boy. I am merely resurrecting men cursed by the ails of death, famine, and cowardice. They have been blessed with power. It may not have been their choice, but surely they'll come around.
The coldness in Father's voice was enough to set Naga Cora off, who exploded angrily in kind.
You son of a bitch!
Father, you were a doctor. How could you do this?
I still am I not? This is merely an extension of my duty, giving life to those who are suffering. In fact, they should thank me. Mind you, they lack the facilities to do so.
Father, how could you? You are a...
Father, eh? You have always been so precocious, but it is high time for this charade to end.
Okay, I just gotta let you know that I laughed for a good, 10-15 seconds at the way he reveals that... the line he says to reveal that he's not her father. Just thinking about it's making me laugh again. It's great. Huh?
Behold, I am not your real father.
No! It's impossible! He's not my real father? I couldn't believe what Father was saying.
The blood flowing in your veins is precious, and traces its roots to the veritable Yukimura clan. Your fate has been decided, that you shall join in marriage with the patriarch of another demon clan. It is your duty to bear the children of Lord Kazuma, thereby solidifying our legacies for generations. Imagine, if we turned your children into furies, how magnificent their potential could be.
What? You must be joking, right, Father? As if in response to my question. All of the Furies began to encircle us, grinning with warped, crooked smiles as they closed us in.
Do as you wish, but the girl lives. Consider him dessert, my children.
Naga Cora's face scrunched, and he glared in every direction out of panic.
Hey, you guys! You were Imperial soldiers, weren't you? Sure, we used to be enemies, but... you gotta break through! Your mind's still in there somewhere, right? Right?
Naga Cora's desperate attempt to reason was ignored.
Save your breath. They are furies, not men. Damn. Guess so. This is your doing.
Naga Cora balled his hands into tight fists, which began to tremble violently near his hips.
Sorry, Chizuru. I don't know if I can make it through this alone. Would you hate me if I use my powers?
I said. And I was like, where's the option of like, yes, now's the time, absolutely do it. And I'm like, well, I guess the closest thing I can do is just to say nothing. Naga Cora's potent rage was understandable, and there was nothing for me to say. He rather appropriately interpreted my silence as an affirmation, thankfully, and nodded kindly. I'm like, yeah, now's the time to use that.
Much appreciated. Close your eyes for a while if you think it'll make you feel better.
There he goes. In the blink of an eye, Naga Cora's katana flashed as the steel slid from out of the scabbard.
Oh!
He growled like a demon possessed. At the emotional center of his frenzy, he felt intense pity for the men who fell from his relentless attacks.
I'm so sorry, you guys. Forgive me.
He tore through their flesh like parchment. Heads and arms were zealously chopped from their bodies, producing geysers of blood amidst echoing shrieks. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how badass of a warrior Shin is. Like, he's one of the top fighters, and he really goes to town on these guys. Go, Shin! Naga Cora was proving too difficult an adversary, striking each vital point with accuracy that reduced the Furies into a revolting mess of blood and organs. In the span of a minute, over half of the Furies surrounding us were corpses, and Father was helpless as he watched on in bewilderment. I was like,
I don't have enough scalpels for this.
that's the face of a man who knows he does not have enough scalpels.
The difference in power between a specimen such as yourself and these men is palpable. We shall see how you fare in our next meeting when I unleash furies beyond your wildest imagination.
Father chuckled to himself, spinning before fleeing into the forest and shrouding himself in darkness. Father, wait! As I sprinted in the hopes of catching him before he disappeared, a gang of furies blocked my path.
Kondou, where are you?
Naga Cora barreled into the group of furies, slashing at them while trying to pursue Father, but the furies did their job, serving as little more than meat shields to buy Father enough time to escape. Naga Cora, he's gone!
Where'd he go? Come out, you old bastard!
I tried thrusting my body in front of him, but he instinctively shoved me out of his way. My words were useless as an arrow against a wall of stone, unable to penetrate his brutish mind. Was there any chance I had in stopping him? I laughed for a long time when I saw the shadow. I was like, yes! Because I had just been thinking, like, the last time Shin lost control, our bro Amagiri was there to, like, literally knock sense into him. And then, again, he just happens to show up at the perfect moment. I'm like, Amagiri, my bro, he's here. Someone tapped on my shoulder from behind. As I turned around in panic, I saw...
Lost himself again, has he?
Amagiri, one of Kazuma's demon cohort, stepped in front of me as if to shield me from Naga Cora. Thank you. Naga Cora, still stewing in frustration, pointed his katana at Amagiri.
Look who decided to pay us a visit. What are you here for? You got a death wish, bud? Surprised to see you've still got your wits about you. Believe it or not, I'm not here to fight. Don't get in my way! Move to the side!
Naga Cora shouted at Amagiri, swinging his sword at breakneck speed with the intent to kill. In spite of Naga Cora's heightened agility, Amagiri swiftly ducked his head, avoiding the strike. Then... and once again.
Go!
Amagiri jabbed his fist into Naga Cora's ribcage, blasting Naga Cora into the trunk of a nearby tree. Whew. Those fists. The force of Amagiri's punch knocked the wind out of Naga Cora, returning him back to his human form. Naga Cora, are you alright? I ran to his body. After doing a quick inspection, I sighed in relief, seeing that he was still conscious this time around. Huh. While waiting to Naga Cora to stand, Amagiri revealed some news about Father. Oh yeah, Amagiri's got a lot to tell us. All this time, Amagiri had been tracking each of Father's movements, going so far as to hunt down new batches of furies without respite. According to Amagiri, the furies who had appeared in Kofu were also Father's doing. Father was intervening with the natural order of man, a grave fact with which he was unconcerned. To our surprise, Amagiri was interested in becoming an ally, hoping to bring an end to Father's mortifying experiments once and for all. Then Amagiri revealed one last bit of disturbing information he had uncovered in his travels. Utilizing fury powers came at a terrible, terrible cost. So he's going to tell us about the whole turning to dust thing. Harnessing its strength meant borrowing energy accrued from decades of a normal human's lifespan. In other words, it was burning your own candle from both ends just to see flame. I cupped my hand over my mouth in shock, and Amagiri turned his head to admonish Naga Cora.
You're strong. Strong enough not to rely on this wretched poison in order to win your battles. Please remember this. If you continue to depend on your fury powers, then I will crush that skull of yours. One day, your brain will deteriorate, rendering you incapable of telling friend from foe, and you will be worthless, incapable of keeping this one safe.
Amagiri inhaled deeply, straightening his back as he gazed intensely at Naga Cora.
You are unfit as a guardian of this girl's life. She is coming with me.
I was like, dang, man, you could just stay with us. Keep him on the straight and narrow, Amagiri.
That sit well with you.
Hold on, please, don't take me. Naga Cora will get through this. He won't be defeated as easily as you say. Amagiri blinked his eyes at me inquisitively. It was impossible for me to read the meaning behind his expression, but...
Very well. One chance, that's all I'm giving you.
And he peaced out. What a dude. He spun around, melting into the ether like a phantom. What a relief. Huh. I let out an audible sigh, rubbing my eyes as I attempted to process the last hour of my life. Although Amagiri's news wasn't exactly encouraging, I had faith in Naga Cora's ability to persevere. Someday he would conquer his demons, no longer tethered to the restrictions his condition imposed. It worried me, though, that Naga Cora was slow to speak up after Amagiri's departure. Naga Cora?
I'm a monster. I gave in to my anger too quickly, just like last time. The line between friend and foe, like he said, gets so blurred. I'm worried that one day I won't be able to recognize you either. I don't deserve to call myself your protector. Actually, I'm not sure if I deserve to call myself a warrior anymore. I'm not even a human. Nor a fury, really. Just a goddamn mess.
What? No, that's not true. You saved me, Naga Cora. I tried cheering him up with a feigned smile, but the morbid image of him slaughtering furies was fresh in my memory.
Kodo said he disciplined his furies, like he would a dog or a horse, right? Kinda reminds me of Kondou, don't you think? They worked us to the bone until we were expendable. Why? Why did I let myself drink the water of life?
So, Naga Cora regretted it after all. Hearing him voice a sentiment that plagued me with insecurity shattered my heart to pieces. Before I could respond, he meekly sauntered away. Where are you going?
I want to be alone. I don't need anyone.
Naga Cora wandered aimlessly into the darkness by himself, crushing branches with his footsteps. My hands were clammy with nervousness, and I followed him into the forest without hesitating. Alright, and that is the end of Chapter 3. And I'm sorry to leave you on that kind of cliffhanger there, but that was the end of the first episode I had recorded. But next time, we're getting into some good stuff, guys. Just you wait. It's gonna be great!